Hi, friends. Welcome to Luminous Human School. My name is Christy Sandino, and I'm here with Lindsay Davis.
Hello.
And as you may know, we are both
Oh
breathwork
no.
practitioners. And we get a lot of questions about what is breathwork and what are the differences between different breath works. And so we wanted to do a series specifically on conscious connected breath work. It's one particular type of breath work, and it's probably the most commonly practiced breath work that you're going to find if you go to a group breathwork ceremony or breathwork journey or something like that. Or if you do private breathwork sessions with a breathwork practitioner,
hmm
very likely they're going to be using conscious connected breathing. So we often find that when we're leading ceremonies or journeys that we do what's called a frame when we start breath work, and we go through what kind of breath this is, how we're going to do it, our inward intention, contraindications, all kinds of different things. And we often feel a little rushed because there's always a time constraint. And of course, we want you to breathe.
There's always so much we're trying to get into that time so that people have the best experience possible.
Yeah. So we thought it would be so fun to just do a deep dive and really get into the frame and give you a reference point for breath work so that even if you go to a breath work and the description is rushed, or maybe you come in late and you miss it, you will know what's going on. You'll know how to take care of yourself. You'll have an idea of what you might feel or experience and how to be with all the things that come up for you in a breathwork session. And so you can feel really safe practicing breathwork because it's a very powerful practice. It can bring up lots of emotion, lots of sensation. It can
Yeah.
even bring up trauma that's been stored in the body. And it may be feelings and sensations that we weren't even aware that we were holding.
hmm
So we want you to have a framework for how to hold all of it and
Definitely.
feel really empowered.
Yes, absolutely. And if you are going to a group session, do your best to be there early as much as you can because with these sessions, there's so much truly that you don't want to miss at the beginning that is for your safety. And so that you really do understand what you're doing. It's not like coming into a yoga class late, which, I don't recommend coming into any class late or anything like that. But yoga, you can just jump right into. But typically, from a facilitator's perspective, there's a lot that, we are offering at the beginning that is a guideline for just where we're about to talk to is how to do this, what to expect. And even if you've heard it before, it's always good to be there for it. And then oftentimes a facilitator might have a specific theme or something that they want to share with you at the beginning so that it preps you for the most beautiful journey. Really allows you to be in that space, in that container that they're creating. And when you hear the word breath work, there might be a lot of different things that come up in your mind of what is breath work. Oh yeah, I've done box breathing before. I've done kapalabhati or fire breathing before, and there is a difference between pranayama and breathing techniques and what we're focused on today, which is more of a conscious connected breath work. So while there are so many different types of breath patterns and ways of breathing, and they all hold so much value and all have incredible purposes and ways to utilize them. For our series that we're getting into with breathwork, we just really want to focus on what Christy and I have practiced so much and taught, and that's the conscious connected breath. And that's truly such a powerful way of breathing. You know, Christy touched a bit on some of the things that can come up, but it can really be a transformational type of experience, you know, especially if you are going and having like a one-on-one experience that can truly be catered to you and what you're working through, and getting some coaching along with that experience. So yeah, we
Hmm.
just wanted to dive into this realm of the conscious connected breath. And sometimes you might hear it called CCB for short, because it's just a little bit easier sometimes to say it that way. But you know, truly both of us have experienced some, I mean, not just profound, but life-changing things from this work, not just doing the breath, but actually being facilitators and guiding people in this work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like we both mentioned, it is a series, so this episode will not cover everything, but we're gonna encapsulate a good starting point here in this episode, and then we'll continue. So you'll really get a great overview of breath work and the possibilities and potentials of what you can do with it, which actually are almost endless. It's so powerful. We both love it so much.
That is, yeah. And I mean, we realized like part of the reason we wanted to do this series is because we realized we could literally talk for hours on this topic. And when you are facilitating and you're giving people that intro of breath, you have maybe like 10 to 15 minutes to go in and make sure people know what's going on. So we thought, why not give people a series that they can tap into and just go, you know what, I do want to learn a little bit more about this piece that facilitator was talking about. And so our hope is that you really take a lot from this series and feel really good about doing this practice. Yeah.
So
So,
yeah, let's get into it. So conscious connected breathing. Um, it's a two-part breath.
mhm.
So we're you can do it two ways. You can breathe through the nose or breathe through the mouth. But the two parts are a, a big, passionate inhale and then a relaxed exhale. And the other piece is that you're dissolving the space between the inhale and the exhale and the inhale. So the breath is seamless. One breath just rolls into the next, and it's often likened to the waves of the ocean rolling onto the beach. They roll out onto the sand, and as soon as they get just to that edge, come back. So as soon as you get that nice, big, rich inhale, you're letting go without any forcing or pushing on the exhale. And as soon as you get to the bottom or almost the bottom of the exhale, you don't have to exhale all of your breath. You take the breath right back in. So when we're normally breathing, there's natural pauses that you may or may not even notice, but we typically will exhale or inhale, and the body will just naturally pause before the next breath cycle starts.
Mhm. Yes, it is
Yeah.
a bit more of that. I like the way you put it, this like passionate, inhale. So you're being a little bit more intentional with that inhale. And, it's not like a gasping or like like trying to say, frantically pull the air in, because this is also like a steady rhythmic kind of breath. And we're thinking of a circle here of something that's just flowing. There's a little bit more of this intentional inhale where you're bringing some more consciousness into that. And then you're just letting go on the exhale. And so we're a little bit more work on that inhale, and then we relax into it. And then we pull it back in, and then we relax into it. And yeah, I love the analogy of the ocean. That's such a great way, like such a great visual to really see and feel how that breath could feel like in your body and in the practice of just imagining it that way. It's so perfect. Because like the ocean never has like a pause. It doesn't like get to the top and then it's like, yeah, we'll just hang out. Oh, okay. And then it's just this constant, you know, rolling a wave, which is beautiful. And typically, if you go to a session or somebody's guiding you, typically they will guide you to breathe through the mouth. But as Chrissy mentioned, you absolutely can do it through the nose as well. We have found that, you know, you can, through the mouth, it can be a little bit more activating, and you can pull in some of those deeper breaths because there's less to kind of filter through the nose. So you can get a bit bigger, deeper breaths through the mouth, but you can still have very powerful experiences doing this work just breathing through the nose as well.
Yeah, and it can change. So you want to just
Yes.
check in with your body at before each breathwork session. Notice how clear are my nasal passages? How does my
Mm.
throat feel today? What is really going to support me in having the best experience? So if it feels like it's going to feel better and be more supportive to breathe through your nose, and they're guiding you to breathe through your mouth, defer to your own wisdom. Like, we'll say that over and over again in so many aspects of breath work. Always defer to your own knowing of what's best for you. Don't let an outside source guide you to do something that feels wrong or unhealthy in any way.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so
Yeah.
important to listen to that internal wisdom and know that, you know, if you start the breath and you're just breathing through the nose, at any point in time you can start breathing through the mouth. At any point in time you can start breathing through the nose again. Right.
Yeah.
So regardless of what's being guided, I just love that. It's always checking in with yourself. What do I need? And of course, if your nasal passages are blocked, you're probably not going to be able to do it through the nose. Or, you know, if you're one common thing can be that your mouth starts to get really dry, your throat starts to get really dry. But over time, as you continue the breath, that usually passes and your body adjusts to it. But if for some reason, you know, maybe your throat is bothering you that day, maybe through the mouth isn't the best way to go, right? So always checking in, what do I need? And that's even something that, you know, when I'm guiding a session, I'm having people throughout the session just always checking in. What do I need right now? What do I need right now? And I think that's a great practice kind of in life in general. It's just what do I need right now? You know,
Definitely.
so it's like when we're doing this kind of practice with the breath, we're able to, and we'll probably get into more of this later in other series, but we're able to take what we learn from this practice and bring it into our daily lives in really profound ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, part of this breath, of course, it's called conscious connected breathing. And we touched on why it's connected. But the conscious part is really about staying present. It's about staying in your experience and really noticing the thoughts and emotions and maybe the physical sensations, all the things that may be coming up for you. So you can really start to work with those and be really present in your body and in your experience. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that,
And oh, go ahead.
go ahead.
I was just going to say, what we're able to work with them because we're allowing those things to come up in a really safe setting, in a
Yeah.
really intentional setting. So, you know, you're laying down, probably on your back, your eyes are closed, you might have an eye mask on, you might have a blanket over you. Um, you've probably set some intentions before you began, or as Lindsay mentioned, the instructor may have guided you into a theme for this particular breath work.
Mhm.
So when emotions come up, that maybe if they come up in life or in a, quote unquote, uncontrolled experience, a fear or sadness or grief, it could feel overwhelming. And when they come up in breath work, you've created such an intentional space around you that you can use the breath to support you in feeling the things that come up. And and the breath is also a tool for feeling less overwhelmed by things.
Mm. Yeah, definitely. I like that you touched on that. Is in the session itself, we're already creating a container for these things, and we're creating an environment that feels safe, so that when or if certain emotions come up that might not feel as that comfortable, we can tap back in and be like, okay, I'm safe. I'm in a space where I can look at this in whatever capacity I'm able to in this moment. At least just, and sometimes it is just noticing like, wow, there is an energy within my body that's wanting my attention. There's this emotion maybe I've been kind of pushing away, and it's here now. And now that I've taken this time for myself, I can breathe into that. I can take some breaths with that and really see what else is there. And that's like just such a beautiful part of this practice, is giving yourself that space. And I've said before too that there are times that even just being in the environment of doing a breathwork session, whether you're in a group of people or you're at home and you're doing one online, even if you're not fully doing the conscious connected breath, sometimes just being in that space allows things to come through. When you give yourself that space to slow down and be there with presence, taking some breaths. I mean, there have been times I've taken 3 conscious connected breaths and emotions are just rising out of me. I'm like, okay, so there's some stuff here. I'm available for this,
Yeah.
and I love that.
Yeah, it's powerful. In life, we either don't have time, or we have all these unconscious habits that really push these feelings or thought patterns that we're having away so that we don't have to look at them, or we don't feel like we have the capacity to look at them. So in this setting, we're inviting them. We're saying, okay, I'm here for you now. Any limiting belief systems, any emotions that have been stored in my body that I have the space to feel now, like, you're welcome here. I'm inviting you in. Um, and and the body's so wise. The spirit is
Yeah.
so wise. It just tends to give you what you can manage in that moment. You're generally not going to have this overwhelming experience that becomes unmanageable. Um, when you're staying conscious and keeping a nice, steady pattern with the breath.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we are talking about some of just emotions can rise up, and you can have some different experiences, but you're also completely in control when you're doing this type of breath work, which is really what's the word I'm looking for? Comforting, to know that you can go into something like this and know that you're always in control. And I know sometimes we might see marketing that makes these experiences seem like really intense, and sometimes people are ready to go into those spaces, but it's not like it doesn't have to be super intense. It can be, you know, we can go into these things a little bit and experience them and then know, okay, I'm good now. I'm going to pull it back, so we can always slow our breath down and, either focus on like a relaxed exhale or a extended exhale, or breathe through the nose and bring our body back into this really like relaxed state, this parasympathetic state. So that's what I love about this, is just feeling that, you know, things can come up and we can start to work with them, but only to the capacity that we're really ready to be with them in. And sometimes that can take some time to start. Okay, now next session. Okay, I think I'm ready to go in a little bit more. Oh, okay, next session. Let's see what's there. And so, yeah, I think that's just such a beautiful part of this, is that comforting control that we have.
Yeah. I know for me, breath work was I mean, it's been a lot of things, but one of the things I think it's been is been a process of learning how to feel my feelings in a
Mm,
way that feels really safe. Like it used to feel kind of unsafe for me to cry or to have big emotions. And I feel like now I can always turn to breath work as a tool for feeling my feelings in a way that feels um, transformational. So
mhm.
it's not, I don't feel like I'm going to somehow re-traumatize myself or bring something up so painful that then I'm just going to have to feel it endlessly, sit with it for hours, or like it's going to be there the rest of the day. I know that when I'm doing breath work, I'm actually transmuting something and releasing it out of my system.
Yes, I love that. Because all of these things are, it's just energy. These activations, the anxiety, the emotions, the sadness, it's energy. And a lot of times situations that can feel traumatic in some way, these things can get kind of lodged and stuck in the body. And this work, doing the breath work, allows for us to start to unwind. I love saying it like that, like unwind and start to unravel these stuck places. And, the more that you do this work and you practice coming into presence and you practice feeling your emotions, um, you know, the more you really just know yourself and are able to regulate yourself in any situation. And, there's times for me where maybe there's been a day or a couple days where, I'm feeling something a bit more intensely. Like maybe I'm feeling a bit more anxiety for a couple days, and there's nothing like specifically I can tie it to me. I go, you know what? I think I could I could use a couple sessions of breath work so I can really be with this and see what energy is here, because clearly my body's trying to tell me something. To me, that's a communication from my body. It's saying, "Hey, can you spend some time with me? There's something here that wants to be looked at." And I just love that I'm able to come to a place like this after doing this work and studying it and teaching it, to get to know myself in that way and have these incredible tools to work with those moments and to work with the body when it's like, hey, hi, I need you.
Yeah, and since we're talking about emotion, there was another thing we both really wanted to touch on, which is this experience of catharsis, which,
Mhm.
catharsis is generally, like, if you just look up the definition, it means a release of emotion. But in breath work, it's used in a certain way, like having catharsis in a breath work can be almost like where you go into overwhelm and people have these, if you've ever done breath work at a festival or in a big group, sometimes you'll hear someone start to scream or have really, really big experiences. And as someone in the circle, there's no way to know if that person has done the work and they're able to process emotion in that way. Or for some people, they've just really gone past the point of the conscious present awareness and their emotions have just overtaken their system. And when this happens, some people can enjoy going into it because it does feel like a huge release of energy. But often what's happening in catharsis is that there's something underneath it that is deeper, and there's a resistance to feeling it. So this big emotional experience happening over the top of it kind of puts a veil over it. And
Mm,
so it feels like you're having a big release, but then a couple days later, you kind of go back to feeling the same way you felt before because there's something underneath that didn't get touched into.
mm,
And so often big releases happen in smaller, controlled amounts. So we touch
mhm,
in, we tap into something, we feel what we can in a way that doesn't overwhelm the system, and then we recenter and then go back. It's like kind of like a scooping, like we're just scooping out
mhm.
little bits at a time. We're not taking the whole bucket and dumping it over our head to experience every emotion, fear, grief, pain
Right,
within us all at the same time. So
right.
that's what we're talking about when we say, regulating with the breath. Like Lindsay was saying, you can always come back to breathing through the nose or slowing down the breath pattern so that we're releasing in these really bite size
Mhm.
amounts that we can
Yeah.
digest.
Yeah, especially if it's like some big energy, right? And those moments of catharsis, I mean, you're in the overwhelm, it is activating the sympathetic nervous system. And, we want to work with regulating that. So we don't want to put ourselves in the same kind of system where the trauma was experienced. We want to, we're going to go into sympathetic nervous system a little bit because we're activating, but then we want to go, okay, now I can pull it back. We don't want to get to a place that we feel so overwhelmed that we, you know don't know what to do with ourselves. We want to feel like we can manage what's coming up for us and really work with, yeah, those things that are just under the surface, like under that cathartic experience, is like what's really there. What's really wanting to be felt, what's really wanting to be heard from you, from that part of you that maybe had some experience. And it's like, do we want to just go into a screaming fit, or do we want to really see what else is there? And yeah, I mean, you can make sounds, that's part of a
Yeah,
release, but it's sort of, how much of that is happening, are you able to then pull back and stay really present with what's going on? Because if it takes you out of presence, now we're okay, where did we go? What
I
are
think
we
that's
able
the
to
key.
work with? What'd you say?
I think that's the key, what you just said. Are you still in presence or did it take you out of presence?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if you are having big emotional expression and you're not present and you don't know what's happening around you and you aren't feeling the sensations in your body or noticing the the thought patterns that are accompanying the emotions in a way that is useful,
Yes.
then we recommend you take it way back,
Mm-hmm.
slow the breath, extend the exhale, breathe through the nose, come back, come back to yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that
Yeah.
presence piece is super important, and it's something that I tend to guide a lot because I really do want people to utilize this breath in a way that supports them in the moment, and integrating this into their life after the fact. And we will do an episode on integration, and we'll go deeper into some of the topics we're talking about now, but it just felt necessary to kind of like touch a little bit on them. But there's truly a lot to say in this part of the breath work. But
Yeah.
how present can you be with the experience? And that will then also give you practice to continue to be present in your everyday life, so that when things come up or you get triggered by something or someone, you've practiced presence, and now you're able to utilize this in the real world in a way that really supports your growth and expansion as a human being and as a spiritual being. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So we just want to just review quickly kind of the top points that we talked
Yes.
about. The conscious is the staying present and aware with the thoughts, the emotions, the sensations in the body. The connected is the breath, rolling one breath into the next, the inhale into the exhale into the inhale. You can breathe through the nose or the mouth. The mouth is a little bit more activating because we are activating the sympathetic nervous system with the breath. What else? We went over, so conscious connected, the nose and the mouth, catharsis,
Yeah.
ways to be with what comes up.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, as Lindsay said, carrying it out of the breathwork session and into your life in a way that benefits you in all the things you do.
Exactly. Yeah, and I feel like, gosh, I just want to keep talking about this and, go on for hours and hours. But I think that this is such a great, intro into sort of this first part of what is breath work. And this is the reason we decided we wanted to create a series, is because we could literally talk for hours on this topic and go into so many different areas and rabbit holes. And I think that's just what I love about it, though, is that there's really so much here and there's so much depth. And it's truly changed my life for the better. Like, I have to say, out of everything that I've studied and done, that breathwork has been one of the most life-changing, profound things I've done. Just, not just the practice, but through my training to become a facilitator, through the practice, through guiding, and it's ever evolving. And, so that's just, what's so beautiful about it. But yeah, we just wanted to give this intro. And there's so much more in this series that we're really excited to talk to you about and share with you. So hopefully this gave you a little bit of insight and answers some questions. And of course, if you have more questions, please reach out to us on Instagram at Luminous Human School. And we're happy to, do an episode answering any other questions that everybody has, because, we want to inform you and help you feel like, this could be a great practice in your life as well. Yeah. Anything else you want to add?
I think that's it. Yeah. Much more to come.
Yeah.
We're going to get into all the benefits, the
Yeah.
emotional, physical, spiritual benefits, and more about setting yourself up for the practice,
Mm-hmm.
um,
And
choosing a
just other
practitioner.
things too. Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
so much.
Yes.
So we'll restrain ourselves and stop here.
Yes.
As always, we love you so much.
We love you so much.